Minnesota Timberwolves are in the playoffs for the first time in 14 years.
Boy, it was stressful towards the end. Overtime? Of course it was overtime. You could see the tension on the faces of fans at Target Center. Minnesota had an 8-point lead and watched that evaporate in the final 5 minutes. Into overtime, clutch shot by Jeff Teague, and then the most important free throws in Andrew Wiggins' career. The Wolves beat the Denver Nuggets 112-106.
Everything that's said about Wig, he came out and he gave us the win. Wig hit those free throws, those were the biggest shots of not only the night, but possibly of his career. So he went out there and he did his job, and everyone did their job tonight, and that's why we came out a winner.
We had everyone step up. I thought Carl was huge. Wig making those 2 big free throws, and he got some big rebounds for us when it really mattered. Tough plays he made. So that was great to see. I thought our bench gave us good minutes, and you know, that had a Game 7 feel to it.
They're ready now. That was a playoff intensity, playoff atmosphere. We done had some rough games these last couple of weeks, so I think they're more than ready.
To be in the playoffs is huge. This part of the year, with what we endured with injuries and guys being out. The resiliency of these guys to come together now of all times and get a big win like this one gives us momentum.
The intensity, being on the edge of your seat. I told G and some of the ties those guys, you're standing up cheering. You don't even know how you got up there. You're just up cheering. You're in the moment. You're lost in the game. It was unbelievable for them to experience that, and now they experience it for real.
Jimmy Butler had 31 points. Karl Anthony Towns 26, 14 rebounds, and indeed Taj Gibson with a huge defensive stop. Defense actually made the difference in overtime, which how about that for the Timberwolves? Ends the NBA longest-running playoff drought. Now on to the Houston Rockets. While Timberwolves fans were cheering their team in the playoffs, they were also keeping an eye on the Minnesota Wild.
Tom Reed's Hockey City Pub in St. Paul had people wearing both Timberwolves and Wild attire. The general manager said it would get confusing at times when you hear people cheering for the game that you were not watching.
Having the Wild in the playoffs is huge for our business. Having the Timberwolves about to be in the playoffs is going to be a real nice little extra little cherry on top.
Oh, come on, come on! Go, 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 go! I figured, yeah, since I got the Timberwolves gear on, I may as well go to the hockey bar. Get best of both worlds.
The atmosphere here for it is just perfect.
Well, the Wild did not have as great of a night. They lost 3-2 to the Winnipeg Jets. Game 2 in this series is tomorrow night. Games 3 and 4 are back in St. Paul.
Police in the North Metro have a man in custody accused of setting his RV on fire, then attacking 2 firefighters who arrived to put it out. It's happened in Linwood Township, Anoka County, around 6 last night. The Anoka County Sheriff's Office says after that fire was out, 39-year-old John Tuba hit the firefighters in the head and face with a heavy object. Then deputies say he ran back into his home and started it on fire again. Climbed on the roof with a knife. Deputies shot beanbag rounds at him. He dropped the knife, eventually jumped off the roof. He was taken to the hospital first, then booked into jail for assault and arson. At this point, we have not been able to learn how the firefighters are doing at this time.
Union leaders are trying to figure out ways to keep Metro Transit workers safe after a man brutally attacked a bus driver. A fellow passenger took the video and posted it to social media. It happened Tuesday afternoon on the Route 5 bus in North Minneapolis. Union leaders say the attack could have been avoided if the bus had a barrier to protect the driver. Metro Transit police are investigating what happened.
House Speaker Paul Ryan is leaving Capitol Hill when his term ends in January.
If I am here for one more term, my kids will only have ever known me as a weekend dad. I just can't let that happen.
Those close to the speaker say the decision was months in the making. The 48-year-old Wisconsin Republican has been in Congress for nearly 2 decades, and he reluctantly took the job as speaker when John Boehner decided to leave. He now calls it one of the greatest honors of his life. After leading the way in the largest tax reform package in modern history, Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy and Majority Whip Steve Scalise are seen as potential frontrunners for the speakership if Republicans hold the majority in the next Congress. Gayle King will have Paul Ryan's first broadcast interview since his announcement. That's coming up right here on CBS This Morning.
A well-known adventurer and Minnesota native helped honor women working in healthcare. The Women's Health Leadership Trust is a professional network of women in healthcare. Nearly 1,000 people gathered at the Minneapolis Convention Center last night, where 20 women received special recognition at the spring gala. Polar explorer, philanthropist, and Mendota Heights native Anne Bancroft spoke to the crowd. She became the first woman to reach the North and South Poles on foot and sleds. Bancroft asked women to fully realize the potential and the power we have.
We know, and this room is an example of this in such a wonderful way, that when we amplify our voices and our passions and our talents, we affect huge change in the world and in our communities.
Our Liz Collin was honored to MC the event for the 5th time. And a few years ago, I was invited to sit in the audience of that event. And let me tell you, you look around the room and see all of these accomplished women, and you feel inspired.
Yeah.
It's a really cool night.
Very cool.